This is the Musketeer Coaches Show, and it's right here on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Curtis Anderson with you, and along with the head coach, as I mentioned, Luke Strand. This is brought to you by Bob Rose Point After, also brought to you by Knife River. We talk Musketeer hockey right now, Sioux City, after 34 games in. 18, 11, and 5. That is good for 41 points right now in 5th place. This last week, a loss at Waterloo. That was a tough one. A much-needed win against Madison. And then a tough loss against Chicago, where I thought they really played a solid game, or played a better game than Chicago, except I guess the scoreboard shows it at the end, right?
That part counts.
Does it count?
It does.
It seems like that's the most important part. It's not about how many chances you get. It's not how much zone time you have. How much, all these other categories, possession of puck time.
Balance of pressure was definitely goofy.
But it's all as it takes is one, and one, I don't know if you call it a mistake or a terrific pass that went through a couple of your guys, and it was a terrific shot, and they made it 1-0, that one on Chicago.
They did, and talented team. There's no question.
Well, we'll talk about those. Let's start with the topic of conversation, it seems like, on everyone's mind. Who is healthy? How many times I'm like, and I've gone over every game. These guys are out because of injury.
Yep.
And then I always get, where is Grounds anyway? Where is Matt Miller? And I still get this one. Where's this Matthew Steinberg that we liked so much for 2 games? And I can tell him now he's on the central scouting list for players.
So I mean the injury front. Let's go affiliate first. Okay, so Steinberg. So Steiny came and played with us. He's at St. Andrews College in Canada, going to school. We tried to pull him out after. We tried to pull him out before this season, didn't work. Mm-hmm. After he came and played, didn't work. So he's staying put.
He's committed to his team.
Yeah, he's committed to his group there. His studies there, the whole deal.
Has academic side too?
Well, they've got a family, a family. I don't blame them. You know what? They're a stuck together family. So the academic side of that, and he's committed to Cornell. Mm-hmm. Cornell, for everyone's sake, is a non-NLI school, meaning a player there does not sign a national letter of intent. Once you sign a national letter of intent, you are locked into a school. If you go to a school that's a non-NLI signing school, a la Cornell, they believe you're coming when they see the whites of your eyes.
So keep his eyes closed for a couple of years.
So that being said, those non-NLI schools oftentimes are trying to bring players in
early,
ASAP, so they don't get in that, here he comes to Sioux City, tears it up, and here comes a full scholarship offer by an NLI signing school.
Boy, let's be honest, let's stop these other schools from pilfering.
They do.
It seems like it's getting worse anyway.
It is. So Steinberg. So, Cornell would like to say 50-50 if he's here next year or there. I would say it's like 85-15 that he's there, not here. If he's here, it's a bonus for sure.
Well, I guess the one thing about Cornell is you might not sign a letter of intent, but we're talking about a high-end Ivy League school.
Ivy League school. Going to be an NHL pick. Just that combination oftentimes is I think when you look back at the draft of when we chose him and what we chose him for was the horseshoe in the hat of saying like, hey, maybe he has an average year and he's coming in, or maybe he has a banged up year and injuries is going to force him to come back. But otherwise, John's had a pretty good feeling that we weren't going to see the whites of his eyes for most likely a year, which is it's too bad, but it's what you got to go through, and I think what you got to go after.
It happens year in, year out, especially for a team a player that's up north or something like that. You can call some part of it a flyer or not, but a guy that we hope to see at the end of this season is Sam Stang.
we would love to see Sam Stang at the end of the year.
I'd like to see him next week.
I would love to see him next week as well. Stanger is a right shot forward that did a great job for us. Really talented skater, skill-wise, competitive, second effort kid. He's an all-state baseball player, left-handed, throwing 80-mile-an-hour plus, runs it, hits it. Chance is a Major League Baseball pick at the same time.
Listed 137.
137 pounds?
No, 137 on the NHL Central Scouting list.
Central Scouting, yeah. It's funny. A couple years back, Huffer calls day 2 of the draft. Like, what do you think? Like, here we are, 23rd round. I'm like, you should take Sam Stang. So, Stanger's committed to Wisconsin. He is not signed as NLI. He's not going into Wisconsin next year. You will see him next year for sure. And I know the interest generated by him playing his games this weekend with us was high enough where NHL teams are he's playing tonight in Hudson, Wisconsin, and there will be half of the NHL there, and every one of them with warning are going to ask him what his plan is.
Yeah, and it's someone, obviously
we'll see him at some point. We'd love to see him more.
He came and played a couple games last year, too.
He did.
Yeah,
in the state of Wisconsin, you're allowed to play 2 games during your season, and he did it in both years here.
All right, let's get to some other such guys that are on the scrap heap on the side, and I mean that in a pleasant way. Bobby Brink will start on the top of the list. By the way, Bobby Brink listed number 29 on the Central Scouting list. These are North American skaters. That's a pretty nice number.
It's a big-time number.
Yep.
Brinker is there's 2 hopes. There's either one hope he's back next week early practicing and playing next weekend. That's a very optimistic view of this. I mean,
you said his recovery's been good.
It's been very good, but there's no chance of him playing until he's fully recovered. So that's the optimistic view. The realistic view probably says more like he's another week away after that, so you'll probably see him the first weekend of February.
Okay. It's pretty close to the time frame that you were expecting, 4 to 6 weeks.
It is. It's he's on it. I think he's doing he's very intentful about what he's doing and how he's doing it, and is able to get on the ice up there in Minneapolis. I know he's got a follow-up appointment here on Thursday that could really either green light him for next week or keep him on the yellow light. We'll see.
Let's go to the next one on the list. We got such a list here. Dominic Vidoli is a guy that Musketeer fans saw for a couple of games, and he's been on the shelf, and it's been more of a figuring out what to do or fix whatever is ailing him.
I think Vids has got a hip issue. Skated today. Not with our team in practice, but afterwards. I think showed very good signs of what he is, and obviously how unhealthy Vids can look like. So when his confidence comes with this thing, which it's pretty darn close, I'm certain you might see him in one of our games this weekend. If not, you'll see him the following weekend for sure.
That's one of those things that seems like it's biting on him. He seems like a pretty good competitor.
He's competitive. He's mature about it. The reset of a hip, there's no sense to go back and start this whole venture over. So let's be as confident as we can with what the outcome is and put him in the right spot. I think when he does come back, we'll probably have to manage minutes here for a couple of weeks worth of games about just not taxing him, not overdoing it. And it's really hard because you really want to play him.
You want to play him 20 minutes.
You do.
He's a terrific player. Let's get to guys that maybe we're familiar with these names. Aaron Grounds right now.
Grounds, he skated today. He's got a brace on, but he was moving. It was a very fun thing to have him back. His energy and his speed was definitely delivered on the rink. So you'll see Grounds this weekend.
So I'd like to unload Grounds out the gate when he can first play his next game, because he plays high octane as it is.
I'm afraid, actually. It's like the Kentucky.
Well, you guys
open the doors.
Get him to play against Des Moines. They got red. It's like he's a bull.
Yeah,
Here he comes.
He'll be plenty of excited for sure. And he's one of those. He's got a his enjoyment for the rink is so high that his energy level is out the doors, and you can tell he is back in the building. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's not only what he does on the ice, and he forechecks. He does a lot of little things on the ice that aren't necessarily on the stat book, but he's a different cat, and he's missing when he's not around that locker room.
It's funny.
And I say it in a pot. He's awesome.
For sure. I mean, just his energy, his enthusiasm about the game. He's a rink rat. And I mean, if you guys ever listen to the game and you hear loud, wrestling woohoo type, that's him.
Yeah. It's almost like it's silent if he's not around. There's something.
It's a lot more quiet, for sure.
Yeah. By the way, he's the first one that gets up for breakfast every time we're on the road, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. He's usually not napping in the afternoon, so that energy is coming from Pure.
By the way, I almost didn't recognize him now that he's had dual haircuts now.
I know.
He had all kinds of mop. Then he had half a mop, and now he's no mop.
I know. I'm like, you're adulting now. This is a good haircut for you.
He's probably getting back in the will back home or something like that.
Something's happening for sure.
Matt Miller is the other one, and this is kind of a strange one, too, and I don't know what you can explain about it.
Millsy.
It's like a muscle thing? Or?
Millsy's been out with a thigh injury, let's just say a contusion that might have probably impacted his muscle, which really the blood pool that turns into poison when blood pools. He went through a whole cramping scenario, really broke down his quad as far as muscle breakdown, and skated today, post-practice. Him and Vids hopefully maybe dive into a practice tomorrow with the full group, but same deal. I mean, Matt Miller's a mature guy who brings his attitude to the rink every day with his work ethic, and that's first. And those pieces are missing about what it is, but we're closer rather than further. It's going to be a tolerated deal, what he can tolerate, and I know he's got the itch, but at the same time, once you get these guys healthy, we don't want to go backwards.
A lot of these guys got injured on the road. Unless you see them injured and carted off on the ice at home, sometimes it's a silent one. And Luke, he got hurt up in Sioux Falls, didn't he?
Yeah, you want to put things in perspective. The last game Bobby Brink played for us was November 24th.
November 24th on a Musketeer sheet.
Yep.
I think he scored that game. I believe he had a bar in.
Yeah. Against a familiar foe here coming up.
You're playing on Friday?
Yeah. So Johns gets injured on the 12th of January.
So it's been 10.
It's been, he's at that 10-day mark. You're looking at, let's just not count quite yet. He's probably...
Is he officially on IR or no?
No, he's not, and it's something that could happen for sure. Retroactive back to the date. He had an option to have surgery or not. He opted not to have surgery, so you're looking at probably all of 6 weeks, which you're looking at the end of February. Most likely March 1 would be probably a closer date.
That stinks.
Yeah, it
stinks for him especially. I know we think it's bad selfishly for what we love to see him out there, but for a young man as the team captain heading to Providence, this is a hiccup.
It is. It's an ankle that I think obviously the game is built around your ability to move. And
is that the worst spot, or is it shoulders?
I
don't know.
You look back. We had a young man here that plays for the Detroit Red Wings named Dan DeKaiser, who people would have wondered if he was on a roster that year because his game was gone, and then he came back and he was dynamite. But we got to see the eclipse of him, is all it was.
And yeah.
So Johns, same deal. I think he's going to have probably 3 weeks of nothing, which would include probably next week. My guess is we'd probably see him around town potentially that February 1st week, that February 4th week actually, and then we probably have a good 3 weeks
until he's ready
before he could be contact ready,
playing
green lighted. Yeah.
So that's 6 guys.
Yep.
Six guys that play. Yeah. Excuse me, Steinberg was just a borrow.
Steinberg staying.
So 5. Those 2 guys are. But 1, 2, 3. There's 5 guys that put a lot of minutes on. I mean, you think of what Johnson puts out there for minutes, what Vidoli would have put out
Yep.
there for minutes. How many minutes does Brink have, Miller have? And you roll Grounds' line with Lambeau on a regular basis.
Yep.
That's a lot of minutes.
It is, and I think just there's a lot we've, as a staff, kind of talked about our game. Like, has there been some erosion? Yeah, there has been. Has there been some guys playing more than they should, higher than they should? There has been. And then you add in 4 straight weeks of travel. So I think we've had like 5 practices so far in January.
It's interesting. And no rest for the wicked. This team must be one wicked team.
Yeah, I mean they're just.
By the way, Pospisil, how if he ever got a break, but he looks a lot better than the first week he came back.
No question. Last weekend
because he could have at least a couple days off, right?
We had a couple days off for him, but at the same time, I just think that World Junior Tournament is exhausting, physically,
it's got to be too much almost.
It is. I mean, when our guys had 10 days of break, he had 16 days of straight, and played actually. They had 1 day off the whole tournament.
Oof! Just think if he made the medal rounds.
So, yeah. So, you know what? I think we got a fresh Pos back, which is good.
Look at he's even more creative now too. Back to his
100%.
creativity.
I mean, just even the smirk on his face says he's closer to back than anywhere else.
We'll take a break. We'll talk about this team that has to play together. They've played hard. They are working on it, and you see it. We just want to finish these darn things, and it's almost like starting anew, like a month and a half ago, with terrific players, but they got to gel together, and they got to do it soon. You got to get these points to stay in the race. We'll be back, the Musketeer Coaches Show at Bob Rose Point after, brought to you by Knife River on Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Musketeer Coaches Show is at Bob Rose Point after. It's brought to you by Knife River. Curtis Anderson along with the head coach Luke Strand as we talk Musketeer hockey. And over this last week and briefing on it, obviously this team is close, but how do you score?
Or not as timely. That's one. I think when you take the pieces out that are missing, you're not as timely. So we've got a manufacturer. It's like I suppose a baseball team that
need to bunt.
Might have to small ball and tell you like
that's an Exodus. Mongo does that all the time. It works.
Get some rhythm going, The unfortunate part is the other team's got a goalie, so you've got to do some things about it. We've got to get some more hard offensive commitment out of guys about getting into the net and doing some things. I think there's some next level hockey that hasn't happened. And partly, I think I'd be crazy not to say guys aren't probably slotted where they normally would be. This experience on the flip side of this is going to be great because now when you actually go back to your right spot, you should be used to playing at a higher role.
Yeah, I look at these games and first off, Waterloo. I mean, it's the coulda, woulda, shouldas right now. As we look at that one, they're up 2-0. Could have made it 2-1. The puck doesn't go over the line. Changes the dynamic in the second period. You know why? Because Waterloo scores on momentum, and that's what they do.
Yeah, they scored early in the third there. I think if you even turn back time to the beginning of the game there, we had opportunities there to step on their throat, and it didn't happen. And that goes back to that timely moment. I think we get a 5-on-3. We don't score. We have some very opportunistic offensive looks that we don't take care of. They score. They're building. That's a hard place, and unfortunately, to your point, where if it's 2-1 at the end of the two, third feels a lot different.
It feels a lot different. I mean, the momentum is you can see it in any sport, but certain things of momentum. Scoring first, obviously, is a good one. Scoring back-to-back close goals and all those kind of things, and that's the tough part about it. Like for instance, Madison scores on you after you really were controlling the game. But you scored right back.
We scored right back. That was a huge goal, Madison. You outshot him, whatever it was, like 11-4 in the first, and really controlled the play. Don't get it by him. Then we had a great start to the second, and bang, it's in the back of the net. So, but the answer to go back to it was huge. I like the idea when Bakes' goal is called off that we didn't really let off the gas at all. No woe was me, but rather dug right in and scored again.
Yeah, you did. Took care of business on it. Ford, by the way, again, nice goal.
Big time goal, power play goal. I think he's. I think you got to credit Malky net front for getting the eyes of the goalie. Then you got to credit Fordo for one, pinpointing a puck because there is traffic, but two, like he zeroed in on it. Like he didn't coast it by someone. He put it through the back of the net.
How many points could have Pospisil had on assists on the weekend because of denial? I think Steiny got denied like 2 awesome attempts on beautiful passes.
And Chicago especially did. That line when Stang and Poss and Steiny played together, they were excellent. I thought. I thought you found Poss getting pucks in full flight. They're on the attack. You did. Steinmetz did what he does. He gets around the net. He gets a little bit greasy about what he does, and I just thought Stanger was a good complementary player to those guys with his skill set and his skating.
Let's look at one other thing too. Is sometimes you don't give them all the credit because they're silent behind. Your defense, when you're missing your team captain, one of the best defensemen in the league, you got Jack Babbage in there, who's a veteran. Yes, of course, he should be there, doing a terrific job. I think Samuelson is getting into hockey again because he kind of been on the sideline, and boy, he looks good.
He did. I thought his game in Waterloo was good. I thought his game in Madison was excellent. I thought his game in Chicago was okay. I mean, and probably expected more of himself that way. But to your point, just getting back in the rhythm of playing. Obviously, his size is a space-taking, minute-eating type player. I applaud Babs for jumping in and doing what he's been doing. I think Anthony and Krenz have been dynamite. We got to get some miles out of Pass. We got to get some miles out of Smitty that are really good quality minutes in Blucher. So those guys have been back there. We got to get to the point where that balance is huge. And if Vince comes back, great. If he doesn't, then this crew has been together here for a few weeks, and they got to buckle up.
Well, they're getting there.
They are, for sure. I mean, those that were in the video sessions today with those Ds they had their chin straps on for some video. Let's put it that way.
You know what? That's all right.
It was good.
It's getting through. And it's showing on the ice.
It is, and I think they're just getting more durable, more dependable. Maybe like more stick to it. They're more predictable. They're playing the right way longer, and giving us quality minutes without two pieces of the puzzle that would really be eating up a lot more minutes.
One of the things I remember was I think you guys were chatting. I was eavesdropping on you coaches, and you were talking about, defensemen seem to be better when they slow down. Yeah. And you'll wait till they pass up on the forecheck and take your time on it instead of hurrying.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably two sides. One, you can hurry and play past people before they get set up. But if they are set up, almost you're trying to draw them out of where they want to be and be patient. And then once they're out, then you strike. And our group is learning. I thought our practice in Madison was very evident about what we were trying to do on that side of things by being able to go D to D, bring their forward longer and further away, and then stretch that rink out again. And we just need more of it. And our predictability offensively, our predictability, less random, less individual, but more team. We had a long talk today about individual skills, but they've got to be good for team value.
As long as it's good for the team.
It's got to be good for team value. It just does. I mean, you can use all your talent you want and how we want to use it, but it's got to benefit our team value.
Well, there's a structure there, and you got to work that way. What's on your board? It's not the top 18 talented?
Yeah.
How do you finish that?
It's not the 18 best, it's the best 18. They got to fit. And so I think we're at that point. And guys are, I'll give them credit. Like, has it been frustrating? For sure. Has it been deflating in some moments? It has been. But at the same time, I think there's been some determination of our group. I like that there's some anger might be, I guess, the right word to use, but there's some push. There is angst about not winning to the regularity where we were, winning. So, but the expectation is to get back onto that winning track.
Got to get one more thing before we get a break in, because I almost forgot about this because we were on the road forever. Steinmetz has now an A on his sweater, and Parker Ford has a C on his sweater. Explain.
Yeah, you know what? With Johns out to the extent of when his Johnson's out,
4 to 6 or what have you.
4 to
looking
6,
further.
6. We really felt strong like, hey, a C is needed, and of our candidates, I mean, Millsy's out, Passo's been gone, and you're looking at Fordo, and Fordo's very well deserving of that. Now, I can tell you, and Fordo and I have had whisper conversations about it, the C feels different than the A. And
it is a difference.
It's a difference, and that's, I think, when in reflection, when you look at Johns, where the C, it doesn't bother his game, it doesn't bother his functionality, it doesn't bother his routine.
I thought it was an easy fit.
It's a great fit for Johnson. So, Fordo, I think, wearing it and represented it is fabulous, unbelievably great at it. But Fordo's finding out, though, is the lump of responsibility that comes with it is larger maybe than it was figured, which is great. It's what you want to go through as a growing player, and Steiny is a no-brainer for an A. He's our most consistent player.
Hard.
You just know. You know what you're going to get.
What shift did he ever take off? Can you even remember one? You know what I mean? It's
maybe in a baseball bat and someone to get a penalty so he gets in the box. That's probably about it.
Maybe as he's dragging with blood trails coming behind after he gets cross-checked across the head for working too hard in the corner.
Yeah, it was a neat moment, I think, there in Madison. He had, I don't know, the Steinmetzes are already a handful, like more than a handful, more than a car full of people in that family. I think there's 6 of them. And then there must have been the other half of the Steinmetzes, because there was another party of 6 along with them. So, and he scored a huge goal during that game there with their first goal.
Perfect. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit about Des Moines and Tri-City. I don't even know who this Tri-City team is. I think they just joined the conference this year. Haven't seen them. Don't know anything about them, and we'll talk more.
It's mileage.
Mileage. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The more miles, the better.
Something.
Later on. The Musketeer Coaches Show. Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Fox Sports Radio 620 KMNS. Curtis Anderson along with the head coach of the Musketeers and Luke Strand. We only have a few minutes, so let's just brief. You got a lot of guys on Central Scouting list, first off. Bobby Brink, Marcus Kelly and Kelly, Sam Stang, Parker Ford, Adam Samuelson, Matthew Steinberg, and Ben Cross in the goalie selection. And that shows you a lot of what they're going to be and what they've been doing.
It's exciting, obviously. You turn back time. Jamie Huffman, you got to give Huffer credit. I think you got to give Andy Johnson credit for sure. It's exciting. I think when you do your homework and the players get here, the goofy part about Central Scouting is it is a safety net
for the scouts.
For the scouts, they basically at that point have to go through. It makes every scout accountable for anyone on that list. I mean, there's no way you go to a scouting meeting in the NHL and don't have reports on anyone on Central Scouting. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe the hardest 2 evaluations on there are Sam Stang playing Wisconsin high school.
Yeah, how do you?
It's competition is up or down or in or out. You don't really know which team you're going to play against or whatever. And then Matthew Steinberg. I mean, but both came to play with us and really, I think, excelled at the idea that they were very much notified how well they played, and it showed. It fit in. For sure.
They fit in at this level, so I mean that's...
But exciting. I mean,
yep.
I think a year ago, I don't know if Kep was on there at this time a year ago.
How about Parker Ford moving on?
Fordo should be on there. Fordo should have played in the Prospects game.
Yep. That's
and then you look at this, and Luke Johnson plays in the Prospect game and plays unbelievably well in the Prospect game. And now not only does he... I love getting the Bills. It's awesome. not only does he play well in the prospect team,
40
and he's
seconds.
not on the list. So it is goofy. It's not an end-all, be-all by any means, but it's a great indicator about the organization, the franchise, from ownership all the way through.
Got Des Moines, team you have played well against, and then Tri-City you haven't played. And I know we're up against it, but I guess play your game, right?
But yeah, it's going to be about our guys back in the lineup and doing some things that way. I got a question. Who was in first place last year in January? Do you know?
Does it matter?
No, just checking.
I didn't think so.
I was just curious.
All right. Out of time. Join us Friday at home. Wow. On Fox Sports Radio 620, Camden, Sioux City.